talk leadership. Who is a leader? Who is a leader? This whole leadership issue has, from ages ending till today, we've been fighting and trying to just have a vision of leadership. Scripture people have talked, theologians have talked leadership, psychologists, sociologists, and everyone. But coming down to the core of everything, what is leadership all about? Who is a leader? How do we find ourselves leading? What is it about leadership that makes life different? Can leadership change life or cause change? Just the whole picture of leadership. When you think leadership, what comes to your mind? So that's what I'm really about this afternoon. Hello, this is Universal Sister Anne of God. I'm a content creator, pastoral minister, non-profit manager. As a matter of fact, I am a leader. So I'm in this space where I lead. So this is my office space where I run the Katam Goodwill Ministry. It's a non-profit registered 3 years ago. So I speak from a place, where I have found myself these past 3 years. And it's not been easy coming thus far. And I just want to raise my head and say, I am really learning leadership. We keep learning every day, and we learn more from followers, if you will. A leader cannot just say, I'm up there and these guys are down there. The order of the day belongs to me. A leader ought to listen. Because it's not about you. You are leading people. So you must listen to them and hear what life is for them. A leader must be down to earth, coming down to the nitty-gritty of what they do. Thank you for the like, watching, share the live. It just occurred to me, excuse me, that we've been really rigmaroling over this issue of leadership, but we never seem to get it. Think about our political leaders here in Nigeria or even all over the world. There's no part of the world that has it going or working perfectly. We must understand this. Many times my people, Nigerians, think that leadership comes on a platter of gold. Even while a leader, you are still learning. So no leader is perfect. If someone tells you that they are perfectly leading, then you have to step aside and really watch what they are up to. Having given this basic foundation of what leadership is, who is a leader, some of the troubles that surround leadership. Some writer says the greatest issue that currently faces leadership, or the greatest problem we have as of now, is a lack of good leaders. And you can bear with me that is quite true. What can we do about this whole thing? Does it worry you? Have you seen good leaders? What can you say about them? Do you want to be a good leader? Because let's say, in effect, all of us are leaders. A mother is a leader, a father is a leader, a teacher is a leader, a market shop owner is a leader because you're directing the affairs of your business. A non-profit manager is a leader, a pastor is a leader. Then you find that somehow all of us are leaders. Wherever you find yourself and you speak, people listen to you. should point to the fact that you are a leader. So that means all of us are embroiled in this problem. And we can't just sit in our island and begin to point fingers. Because at the end of the day, every part of society has something to share from the basic problem of leadership. What are you doing in your own community, in your own small base of leadership? Even a course rep in a class of, say, 10 or 12 has been given that load of leadership. Now, all of us are leaders. Did we really learn to become leaders? Were we born to be leaders? So we're trying to say here that leadership does not just always happen. Some persons, when they're born into certain families, they know immediately when they come of age that very soon they'll become leaders in different aspects. But some people have never imagined that they are leaders in that right sense of the word. They just come into the business. So you find yourself in a small group per se, and you have one or two to share, and people begin to believe in you. You know that they will all begin to rally around you. You never asked for that particular leadership. They never even envisaged, you would emerge a leader. But somehow, because you have a certain gift and they have seen it, you're charismatic. You say things that make sense, you have automatically become a formal leader, not informal. So at home, parents and all these people could be called informal leaders. Informal leadership. Formal leadership happens when people are selected, like we have in politics. I laugh. It's so funny. I'm asking myself, do I need to count that as leadership? Because recently, my local government, Onelga in Rivers State, we got a local government chairman, but who voted? Yeah, so that's a leadership of selection. So it's selection. So people can just see it because of their prestige, the position they hold, how rich they are. People will just say, become our leader. Or nowadays, too, true godfatherism, he's my uncle, he's my this, he's my that. And let's not be surprised that this also happens in Christendom and in other religions, It even happened in the Catholic Church. In those days, with popes and all that, there are stories, and they are real stories. It's all there in the church's history, annals, and so on. A pope steps down and makes his cousin a pope, and so on. Even in our prayer books, Liturgy of the Hours, the story of a pope may be told, and they say, this other person, his uncle was a pope, and when he left the seat, he made him a pope, he made him a bishop, and so on and so forth. It's a problem. See what is happening in Cameroon. Can we call that leadership? How can somebody have gone through 8 tenors as of now? The people are no longer interested in your leadership. So we can call that forceful leadership. You're forcing yourself on people. And I just wonder how anybody can encompass that in their head. At 92, you don't want to step down. That's no longer leadership. It's crazy. And such a big pity. And no one is talking about it. The UN is not saying anything about it. I just can't imagine. Nigerians, have you learned from this one? At least nobody has stayed beyond 8 years in any office. Tomorrow you say Nigeria is the worst. Can you fathom what is happening in Cameroon? I can't think about it, So we all need to begin to evaluate ourselves, Sometimes we like to say, oh, pray for good leaders, pray. I'm not saying that prayer doesn't work. I'm a prayer person, but we all have to be realistic at some point, you know. Be realistic. I like to be realistic. I am not a sentimental person at all. Like the way people are beginning to be sentimental about Regina, whatever's issue. Once I see her these days, I scroll away because I don't think there's anything I want to hear about shit. They're talking shit. So but some Nigerians are keen. They keep saying, they use the term small girl. How can you be calling a 25-year or 26-year-old woman small girl? I was sitting down, a young lady, 22, was sitting opposite me here in this office yesterday, pregnant, young lady, got married like a year ago or so. Is she not mature enough to handle herself, her husband, and eventually the child that will come? That is leadership taking shape. From 18, we all become adults. And many times we make mistakes as leaders, and when people point it out, we think they are against us, they are trolling us, they are doing all sorts of things. We don't have that open space to listen to positive criticisms. We just all want people to say good job, good job, good job. No, I am not one to say good job, and it always causes wahala. But I like the wahala because leaders are supposed to be strong, focused, effective, following their vision. I mean, there's no shortcut to achieving your vision as a leader. We've talked and talked and talked and talked, but we have not defined leadership. So what I'm doing actually is teaching, right? Definition of leadership. Teed in 1935, Teed is TEAD, defined leadership as the activity of influencing people to cooperate towards some goal which they come to find desirable. Leadership is an activity, it's a process where we influence people through the ways we talk, carry ourselves, exhibit things. We are influencing people's hearts to becoming something. So we got about three things out of this definition of leadership. Influence. Leadership is influence. Leadership connotes cooperation. There is a desired goal. So from this definition, there is influencing in leadership. There is cooperation in leadership that leads to a desired goal. So that is very important. Another man defined leadership in 1942, Copeland. He said that leadership is an art of dealing with human nature. It is an art, he also mentioned influence or persuasion with example, for people to follow through. In leadership, we deal with human nature. So everything comes to play in leadership. The human being is there, the character of a person, good or bad, the virtues, and everything. That's what Copeland says. It is an art. Leadership, like it has a kind of process that we follow to do leadership. You don't just jump into leadership. We shouldn't just jump into leadership. Leadership is difficult. Leadership is difficult. You can't please everyone at the same time. And that's what we must realize as leaders, to come to a balanced position as you lead.
Good afternoon.
Mm-hmm. We have to come to a balanced position in leadership because you cannot please everybody as a leader. Leadership always tilts either way, but one has to maintain a balance. But sometimes, too, we could be moved to go this way or that depending on the situation at hand. And that's how we come to begin to look at types of leadership. Sometimes leaders are just found in some pleasurable group of friends. Leadership can also happen, say, in a company. Leadership can happen in the church. You know, in the days that I studied leadership, we had this definition or type of leadership that they called um leadership of pleasure or what. That's what I want to think about when I remember that leadership. Or a leadership where the leader always tries to please the people, you know, a, a leader who likes to please. We also have autocratic leadership. It is what is happening right now in Cameroon, which I said forced leadership. Someone forces themselves on people. There's participatory or democratic leadership style where everybody's voice counts. Everybody's voice counts in that kind of leadership. Relationship based leadership is the type I was trying to get a word for. It's like, oh, this is my uncle, this is my niece, this is my cousin. That kind of leadership that I say in a family meeting group. So there you try to please people, encouraging them freely. There's a high level of friendship in that kind of leadership, but you can't find that kind of leadership in a company. There's punishment based leadership where people keep being punished for doing some little thing or the other. There's also reward. You do something, they say, good job, good job, good job, every time, good job, good job, good job, good job, good job. Ah, you keep praising someone, they won't sit up and do, or they begin to want to please their leader to get those positive words. Charismatic leadership. Charismatic leadership has to do with gifts and talents. Those leaders are leaders because of their special gifts and talents. That is why people flock around them. Tempting enough, once those kinds of talents dissipate, you find that such followers run away. Like a movie I watched yesterday, Gift Within. The guy began to notice that he had a call, he could heal, and then he got into his head. He started healing, collecting money, and that kind of thing. But at a point, the gift left him, and everybody ran away. So it's so funny that that can happen. Instead of people to utilize their gifts very well, they begin to make it marketable, that sort of thing. There is also rubber stamp. If I say this, it became. No other person says anything again. You can find that in this kinds of leadership where the army or people like that. There is a servant role leadership. Servant role. Such leaders, Jesus did that kind of leadership, servant role leadership. You can differentiate such a leader from the followers. Jesus says, I did not come to be served, but to serve. So you found him, we have seen him walking along with the disciples and apostles, not acting to be like above them. There's carefree leadership. Whatever goes, oh, let's go party, that kind of thing. They don't like stress. They don't like stress. Would I say that that is what I noticed in this past 1 month and some days at the school where I worked, the leader in the school knew or had seen, he just came like a month or two ago, that things needed to be done on ground, But each time you give a suggestion, I think we can counter that problem by this. It enters here, it falls from this place. And the person says, when you talk further, he's like, I don't want to stress myself with that kind of thing. I know I don't want to get into what I can't finish. That's carefree leadership. Even though it may not be seen in that light, especially this happens in a religious setting. Nobody wants to walk. That is carefree leadership. Aha, I said this earlier on. No leader is a finished product. Leadership is an art we define. It's a process. So leaders grow daily from situations and experiences. This one will happen, you say, okay, then you go like this the next time, that other one will happen, okay, we shall do it. Leadership is not a finished product. So when we talk about political leaders doing this, doing that, just know that they are still being formed as leaders. It's not as if they don't have an idea of leadership, but it's a process, it's an art, like in drama, and sometimes you get the best, tomorrow the quality falls. They keep improving, it keeps improving, just like learning a sport, driving, typing. Over time you become more competent in that art, in that talent, But for those who want to be great leaders, it is expected that you remain focused on that growth path. You become intentional. Your intention, of first becoming that leader is to be retained. Ouch. I'm giving more like a seminar, A leader is very useful. We shouldn't joke with leaders. We should encourage leaders. Having heard that, it is not a finished product. No leader is perfect, even though it seems that way to you. Okay? We must look at our leaders as that and journey with them the way they are also journeying with us. A leader does not know it all. A leader does not know it all. Hence, a leader must be open always to listen and get feedback from followers. Create a safe environment so that people can be free to approach you. A leader should not be closed up, no matter what. No matter what. A leader must not isolate themselves. There's just no room for isolation as a leader. The best thing would be that you step down. There's nothing like, I don't have time, blah, blah, blah. It's better you step down if you think there's just no headway, Good leadership is most vital, very important. We need good leaders. If God is calling you, you feel you have a gift, a charisma that people love, begin to groom yourself. Let's look at the qualities of a good leader. A good self-image. A leader must have a good self-image, like have self-esteem. A leader's self-esteem must be appropriate so that it's not when people say something, you're moved by it and that dampens you, A good leader must not be self-centered. It's not about you, but nowadays it's like it's about me, I'm the boss. No! Leadership is not about the leader, it's about the followers. A leader must be focused and persevere in achieving a certain goal. Focus, stability, balance, openness, frankness. Be able to control your feelings. You need to be able to relate well with others as a good leader. In conclusion, we should all realize that leaders are always being formed. There's no finished product of a leader. A leader can make mistakes. So we all must work together, supporting each other, and that way we are creating more room for balance for both the leader and the followers. In essence, the final words. We need good leaders. Let us begin to know our gifts, because a lack of knowledge of our gifts is particularly why we lack good leaders. So when you know your gifts, the gift within you, you will ascertain that you are a leader or not, or to what kind of leadership. Know your gifts within and begin to develop and harness them to become a good leader. We need good leaders. That's my final word. The world lacks good leaders because of a lack of self-awareness. Many leaders are around, but they don't want to lift up their hands, or they don't know the special gifts that they carry within them. We are all gifted, you and I. Find your gift, find your place, and sit within that. And then we will have lots of good leaders. Find your position in life and live it. Okay? Thank you to all those who watched. Please kindly help me share this live to at least one person. I'm not asking too much, right? I remain Universal Sister Anne of God. Let's do this another time. Stay blessed. Enjoy your midweek. Bye. Don't finish.